You have to just get in there and get all the bolts out of the turbo. There's some 8mm, some 10mm down here, over here. You probably can't see it. Oh, right there. Stupid thing down here where my finger is, it's like a rubber 90. You gotta get off of there with a screwdriver. You have to get this stupid clip off. Pull up on this and get this clip off. This gotta come off. Gotta take this off to get this whole air inlet piece off. Taking this back clamp off is real fun too on the turbo. I'm gonna take this whole inlet onto the turbo off to get better access. Little clip on that yellow plug. There's a little brass clip on there. You see that? There's 2 bolts on the bottom of the turbo back here you gotta get out. The 13mm ones. Easier way, just take this 10mm out. Take the whole plug with the turbo. Green and the black electricals, I'm gonna take them off and mark them, and they're gonna go with the turbo. On that 7.3, taking the top turbo nuts off. Getting ready to take this turbo off and get these 10mm and 12mm bolts out. I'm gonna have to cut these inside bolts off of this T because they're friggin' aluminum heads, and I stripped them out. I'm just gonna get a cut off wheel tomorrow and cut those both off and pull that out, and then tomorrow she's coming out. Got mostly everything off the bottom here. The starter's off, all the bolts are off out of the tranny. I gotta take this line off here, oil pressure, and that's the heater. And I drain the oil, take these torque converter bolts off, spin that. I'll be ready to yank her out. How's that sound? Show you what it looks like. Let's scan around. A lot of metric tools laying around. Everything's out. All the batteries, covers, turbo, everything's out. There's that back bolt on that fucking turbo mount back here. This is where I took off that clip. That's all fucked. It was hard. But this bolt is a fuck. You have to get the turbo out of the way first. It's got to come off because you need some more room. You got to pull this exhaust thing off. And that's it. Turbo's out. You got all these O-rings. You got to make sure you get the O-rings for. You got to get this thing to seal real nice. I don't know why that's loose. Both sides. I'm gonna check in on the internet. See that? Both sides are shaking. That's weird. Probably leaks there. Yeah, the turbo's out. The turbo, you got to turn sideways. You see it there? I turned it sideways, and then it comes out to the left. You know, see what I'm saying? Oh yeah, when you're doing this turbo, make sure the guy degreases it, takes it to the car wash, and really gets in there real good, real clean, because it really fucks you up. But as you can see, it's almost off. Just getting that back bolt out, and it's gonna come off. Like I said, this back bolt back here, I can't even see it, so I know you can't see it. It's way back behind the turbo back there. I'm gonna go over this way and just blind find it and yank it out. Might have to pull this little lever off of this valve they have on back here, but it's a bitch, but it got to come out. A quick go over on this. We're pulling the engine out of this 7.3 here, and I'm at the turbo. You got to get the turbo out, but assuming you got the front end off the truck and already, I'm assuming you've not do that. I pulled out this air, plastic air vacuum thing. There's 2 bolts on your valve cover. that plug you got to take out because you just need the room to get this 90-degree out of the end of this right here. Took that out, just flipped it over to the side. Took all those screws loose, the bottom of my dual intake and all the plugs and all off the front, and I just tag everything with those color tags so you don't lose anything. I just yanked that off. I put rags in there so I don't drop nothing down. And you can see all the stuff on the front of the, do this down here. See all the stuff on the front of the turbo there. I got all the wires off. I got them wrapped, and the ones I just put a quick go over on this. We're pulling the engine out of this 7.3 here, and I'm at the turbo. You got to get the turbo out. Assuming you got the front end off the trucking already. I'm assuming you're not do that. I pulled out this plastic air vacuum thing. There's 2 bolts on your valve cover. That plug you got to take out because you just need the room to get this 90-degree out of the end of this right here. Took that out, just flipped it over to the side. Took all those screws loose, the bottom of my dual intake and all the plugs and all off the front, and I just tag everything with those color tags so you don't lose anything. I just yanked that off. I put rags in there so I don't drop nothing down. And you can see all the stuff on the front of the, do this down here. See all the stuff on the front of the turbo there. I got all the wires off. I got them wrapped, and the ones I just put some tape on and some paint on just so you know where they go back together. Who knows how long the guy's gonna take to buy the engine. And these last 4 bolts down here on the turbo mount, the 2 back ones are a bitch. They're way back here, but they're a bitch. So you gotta get them out. I'm on my last one. I've been using contraptions like this, a 10mm and all kinds of contraptions to get on those back ones, but they're not very easy. But that's where I stand on this turbo. It's almost done. Now I got that off. You can see down here I got to get these bolts out on the turbo mount down here. They're kind of a bitch, but you just gotta get them all out and they come out. The exhaust is already off, air intake's off, just getting the turbo off. Here's the parts I brought up. I forgot to say, blowgun, metric, all beer, 3/8 screwdriver, metric, universal, all kinds of extensions, and everything to mark with. That's all I brought up here. Everything's metric. There's that hose that connects onto that thing I took off there. I'm gonna mark it with a white so I don't forget. I thought I must took it off yesterday. Here we go, day 2 on this turbo. I'm gonna take this inlet T part out. Gonna pull this 8mm out, might be 10, and mark some of these plugs and pull this off, loosen those clamps down there and pull this off. Day 3, pulling this 7.3 diesel out. Got everything out. I'm just taking the things off the power steering pump, and that has cord to plug in when it's cold out. I'm gonna yank that off. You can see I have the turbo off. Everything's marked. I have to actually cut this bolt off there because it just stripped out. They're so tight and they're just so rusted. It has 250,000 miles on it. Cut those off and pull that off. Everything else on the bottom, all the bolts are out of the tranny, so it's getting ready to be pulled. I actually had to get a cutoff. Here's a cutoff wheel. I got one on a die grinder too, like this. And I had to cut that back bolt out because I stripped it. They are tight. This has 250,000 miles on. I just cut the one side out. You see how the whole thing came off. And this one's stripped. That one's stripped too. So I'm just gonna, now I have it off, it's gonna be no problem to get that out and Drill that out. There's no problem. Got it out. Engine's ready to come out. Now underneath there, I got all the bolts out. That's the heater wire for your oil heater. I got that all wrapped up there. I took the oil out. I took the bolts out of the flywheel, and you can see it's already out. So it's ready to come out. Everything's disconnected. I put a jack underneath this pan with a block to hold the tranny up better, but you got the tranny thing, tranny holder right there. See what happens.